Good morning, children. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy, healthy, and of course, keeping yourself safe. That is what is important these days. So, welcome to today's English class. And today we'll do a beautiful poem called The Wonderful Words. So the title of the poem is telling us what the poem would be about, what it is related to. So the poem is composed by Mary O'Neill. The name of the poem is The Wonderful Words, composed by Mary O'Neill, and it is a poem from your unit 6, the two parts of which we have already done, and now we are left with the poem, the last section of your unit 6. So we are left with the poem called Wonderful Words by Mary O'Neill. Now let's know a little bit about the poet. So this is her picture with her husband. This is a little life history of the poet. She was born as Mary Davenport. So her maiden name was Mary Davenport. She was born on 3rd August 1879 in one of the counties of Ireland. Laffrey County, Galway. This is where she was born on 3rd August 1879, and she died at the age of between 87 to 88 in the year 1967. And she was an Irish national from Ireland, and her husband's name was Joseph O'Neill. She was a teacher first, then she was a poet and a dramatist. So this was about the poet. Now let's see what the poem is about. First we'll read the poem, and then we'll get to know. After reading the poem, we can easily get to know what the poem is about. So let's read a little bit of introduction of the poem. Imagine a world without language. So that means this poem is telling us something about the words or language we understand or we speak to each other. All humans speak at least one language. So there is just at least one language each individual speaks. The words we speak bring out our thoughts. Read the following poem on words. Now let's see what the poem is about. First I'll read it for you so that you understand what the poem is about. You understand a little bit what the poem is about, because it's a very easy poem and it's self-explanatory. It is telling us what this poem is about, and it's a beautiful poem. Never let a thought shrivel and die for want of a way to say it. For English is a wonderful game, and all of you can play it. All that you do is match the words to the brightest thoughts in your head, so that they come out clear and true, and handsomely groomed and fed. For many of the loveliest things have never been said. Words are the food and dress of thought. They give it body and swing. And everyone is longing today to hear some fresh and beautiful thing. But only words can free a thought from its prison behind your eyes. Maybe your mind is holding now a marvelous new surprise. Just think about it, children. Just think about it for a while and just try to understand what this poem is trying to tell us. I'm sure you must have understood the words of this poem. I'm sure you must have understood. Now try to think what this poem is trying to tell us. Now let's take it stanza wise and see what this poem is trying to tell us. The Wonderful Words by Mary O'Neill. If you have thought I gave you a little time, if you have thought about it, what this poem is telling us, it's conveying to us a beautiful thought itself, this poem. What thought is it? That food. See the quote here. Foods are food and dress of words are food and dress of thoughts. What does it mean? What does all this mean, that words are food and dress of thoughts? It's just that if we didn't have words, if we didn't know anything about words, if there was no language, we would not have been able to convey anything to each other. How would we communicate? How would we express our things, whatever we want to say? How would we express that? How would we say it without words? So there would have been no way to communicate our thoughts or to communicate anything to each other. There would have been no conversation. There would have been no language. So it is the words which we put together and express our thoughts. So without language, we would not have been able to know what the other person is trying to tell us, what the other person means, what the other person is trying to convey to us. So these are some of the amazing facts about words. Let's take them first. The first word ever uttered was ah. So because at that time people hadn't framed any words, so this was the first word which someone said, and it meant hey. By the age of 5, a child can have a vocabulary of up to 2,500 words. See, by the age of 5 only we know 2,500 words. Swims will be swims even when turned upside down. So it is the mirror image of itself. Swims and swims. If we turn it upside down, it will still become swims. I is the shortest, oldest, and most commonly used word. And the longest word in the dictionary is this: pneumono, ultra, microscopic, sil, covol, silico, volcano, coniosis. So it's pneumono, ultra, microscopic, silico, volcano, coniosis. It is the largest English word that refers to a lung disease contracted from the inhalation of very fine silica particles, specifically from a volcano. So this is the longest recorded word in most of the dictionaries. Otherwise, we get to know about many long words which people consider the longest, but this is the most common word recorded in many dictionaries as the longest word we know so far. So these were some of the amazing facts about words. Now let us see what the poem is trying to tell us. Okay, the wonderful words. Never let a thought. So whatever you have in your mind, whatever thought you have in your mind, we know words, we know the language. Okay, we can communicate with each other, we can converse with each other, we have a language which we can understand, or which others understand. We can speak to them. Okay, if we have something to ask, we can simply ask them about that. We can simply tell them about that. Now, if you have some different thoughts in your mind, never let a thought shrivel and die. What is shrivel? Shrivel means to shrink, to let it shrink and die. And with time, if you don't say that thought, if you don't utter that thought, it will die its own death. The word will be forgotten. It will shrivel, it will shrink, and ultimately it will die. That thought will go away from your mind if you don't let it out, for want of a way to say it. So if you have a thought, don't let it die for a way to express it, because you can't express that thought, so you will let it die, even if it is a very beautiful thought. So what do these first two lines tell us? That if you have some thought, never let it die, never let it go away, never let it be forgotten. So if you have a thought, express it, say it, put it in words. So this is about the whole poem. These two first lines tell us the whole thing, what is there in the whole entire poem. So if you have a thought, if you have something, some idea in your mind, just let it out, say it, utter it, so that the other person knows about it. It can be a very beautiful thought you have expressed. So this is about the entire poem. Never let a thought shrivel and die for want of a way. Want of a way means how to express it. Just because you don't know how to express it to say it. For English is a wonderful game. Here we are talking about the English language. It can be any other language. It's not necessary that we are talking about English language. It can be any language. So here we are talking about particularly about English. For English is a wonderful game and all of you can play it. Just because you think English is a difficult language, no, it is not. It's like a game. So everybody can play it. How can we play it? What are the components of this game? The words are the components of this game. And how can we play it? We can play it by putting those words in a proper manner and in a beautiful way. This is how we can play this game. All that you do. So what do you have to do to play this game? All that you have to do is match the words. Just put the words in a beautiful manner. Match the words to the brightest thoughts in your head. So whatever thoughts you have in your head, whatever thoughts are there in your mind, put them in words and then express them, and put them in words in such a way that they make a beautiful quote or a beautiful thought. All that you do is match the words to the brightest thoughts in your head so that they come out clear and true. Put them in such a way, match those words in such a way so that they come out clear. They are comprehensible, they are understandable and true, and handsomely groomed and fed. And they are handsomely here means beautifully put, beautifully matched, or beautifully expressed with using beautiful, wonderful words. So you have to play this game by just giving words to your thoughts, and beautiful words. If you know the vocabulary, you can use any beautiful flowery language, flowery words to make it very attractive to the listener or the reader. This is just how you have to play this game. The only thing is that don't let that thought go away. Don't let that thought die. Use words, because you know words. Use words to express those words, express those thoughts, and put them in beautiful words. Place them in such an order, or use such words which are attractive to the listener or the reader, so that they come out clear and true and handsomely groomed and fed. For many of the loveliest things have never yet been said. We know about so many quotes, we know about so many things, we have got such motivational articles, but there are some more which we are craving, which we are yearning to know. So those thoughts can be in your mind. Those thoughts can be yours. If you express them, we can know about something more. So this is what this first stanza is telling us, that if you have got some thoughts in your mind, idea in your mind, don't keep them there. Don't keep them confined to your mind. Express them. Say them, so that others know about them, because they can be beautiful thoughts which have not yet been said. All that you have to do is just play a game, because English is a very easy and a beautiful game. All you have to do to play this game is use words, give words to your thoughts, use them, put them in a proper order, put them in an attractive manner, and then feed it to the listener or the reader, because there are so many of the loveliest things which have not been said yet. So this was the explanation. Shrivel means shrink. And then for want, for the need of. Groomed is attractively. And fed is well decorated. And this is what our brain is like. And if you put words, if you use words to your thoughts, put them in words, then you can express them beautifully, which are handsomely groomed and beautifully dressed. Now in the next stanza, words are the food and dress of thought. Like we need to survive, we need food, and to look good, we need dress. We need to dress up, beautiful dresses. So similarly, words are like food and dress of our thoughts. It is in the similar way, like we need food and dress to look good and to stay healthy. Words are the same thing which our thoughts need to put them beautifully. They give it its body and swing. So whatever thoughts you have, use words to give it its body and swing, attractiveness, beauty. And everyone is longing today to hear some fresh and beautiful things, because whatever we have heard till now, whatever we have read till now, it's become stale now, it's become old now. So we need something new to know. We want something new to read. So it can be you who can give us those beautiful thoughts or expressions. Everyone is longing nowadays. Everyone is yearning. We want to hear something new, because whatever is there, we have already heard it. We already know about that. But now we need something new to hear, something new to read, and it can be you, any person who can give us something new to know. But only words can free a thought from its prison behind your eyes. And only words are the only things which can give us that, or which can free a thought. Whatever thought you have kept confined to your mind, words can give it its freedom. If you free that thought from your mind, we can know about that. From its prison behind your eyes. What is a prison for the words or thoughts? It's the mind. So again, the poet is telling us, don't let these thoughts be confined to your mind, be trapped in your mind. Say them, express them. The prison is the mind. Don't keep on thinking about those thoughts. One day they will die in your mind if you don't express them. So don't keep them confined to this prison. And the mind is the prison of these thoughts. It can become prison if you don't free them, if you don't let them out. Maybe your mind is holding now a marvelous new surprise, and it can be that your mind has got such a beautiful thought right now, and if you say it, if you pass it on to others, it can be a surprise for them. So it can be a very beautiful thought, whatever you have in mind right now. It can be a very beautiful thought. So the poet is insisting that we should not keep the thought in mind. We should not keep it trapped in our mind. We should express it so that others know it, and so that others can tell us that it is such a beautiful thought. It can be a beautiful surprise for so many of us. So whatever thoughts you have, don't keep them trapped in your mind. Say them, express them, and put them in words. All you need to do is that you have to play the game of English, where you have to use words in a beautiful manner, in an attractive manner, and then put it across to people who want to know about those thoughts. So this is what the poet is telling us, and it is such a motivational poem for people, especially who are talented, who are good at writing, who are good at expressing words, so this poem can be a motivation for them. It can be such a beautiful motivation, or those who are shy of expressing their thoughts, they can use this as a motivation. This poem can be a motivational poem for them. So what is the gist of this poem? Don't let thoughts die in your mind. Express them. Just you put them in words and then express them beautifully so that others can know about those thoughts. So this was the explanation of the second stanza. Words are the food and dress of thought. They give it its body and swing. And everyone is longing is we want, we are yearning to hear, desiring today to hear some fresh and beautiful things, but only words can free a thought from its prison behind your eyes. The prison is the mind here. Maybe your word is holding now a marvelous new surprise. Now, see, I have told you earlier also, when a poet writes a poem, he tries to make it very attractive for the reader or the listener. It's not like prose. Prose is like we can write a story and the person reading that story can get interested. It has got mystery. It has got something else in it. It has got some what we want. Prose can be a simple story. It can be a beautiful story where the person is interested to know the happenings, what about the further happenings. But poem is very difficult to write. It's more difficult because the poet wants to make it attractive, and everybody is not fond of reading or writing or listening to poems. It's just some people are interested in this. So the poet has to do everything to make his poem attractive to the reader or the listener, and he or she uses figures of speech, which can be simple rhyming words, which can be alliteration, which can be repetition. And one of the figures of speech is metaphor. What is a metaphor? Metaphor is simply comparing one thing with something else, and that something else is entirely different thing. It can be like a simile or it can be like a comparison, but in simile we use as good as. We use words like as and as. And if we want to compare something, we use words like. He is like this. This bird is like this. So we use words like and as dash as. In simile, we use words like these. So simile is just like a metaphor, or we can say metaphor is also like a simile, but we don't use words like as and as. So metaphor is a figure of speech. It is one of the techniques, writing techniques of a poem. Metaphor is a figure of speech in which a thing regarded as representative or symbolic of something else. It's simply like comparing one thing with something else which is totally different from the thing we are comparing to. For example, Sachin is the god of cricket. See here, Sachin is just a person, of course a very talented and a good cricketer, but we can't say. But of cricket, god of cricket is, that is what we are comparing Sachin with. Now in the poem, the poet has used metaphor. Where has the poet used the metaphor? Let's see that. See, in the first line, words are the food and dress of thought. Like the person is comparing all this, the thought with a person, with a man or a human. So here the poet has used metaphor. Like we use food, we have to use food and dress to look good, to look healthy. Similarly, words are like food and dress to thought. It is not that words are food and dress, but then they can be used as food, because thought needs words to express, for expression. Thought can remain a thought if we do not use words. So words are acting like food and dress for those thoughts. That is when we can know about those thoughts. If we don't use them in words, if you don't put them in words, otherwise they will just die, and they will just shrink and die in our mind only, if you don't use words for them to express them. So here the poet is comparing words with food and dress. For what? For a thought to be known. And another metaphor is prison behind your eyes. What is the prison here? The mind is the prison here. So if you don't express those thoughts, if you don't use words to express those thoughts, then your mind can act as a prison. Those words, those thoughts can be trapped, can remain trapped in the mind. If you don't express them, then that mind can be like a prison for your thoughts. So this is where the poet is using metaphor. First he's comparing words with food and dress for thoughts, and then he is comparing mind. He's telling us that mind can be like a prison for your thoughts. So this is what the comparison is there. The metaphor is like a use of comparison, or it can be like a simile, but in an entirely different manner, not using words like as and as or like. So this was it. This was about the poem. Now let's go to the book exercises in our next video.